Hi, I'm Bethany Joby, and in this presentation, I'm going to be doing a critical examination of the teen space at the Simi Valley Public Library. So basically, how a library uses its space is a good indication of how it values certain user groups. This presentation, my analysis, is going to quickly go over some of the things I learned in examining how the Simi Valley Public Library is serving its teens specifically. So I wanted to focus on how well is the space currently serving teens, what improvements can be made, and ultimately, like, what is the goal? What is the purpose of these changes? And what do we hope to achieve by giving teens space? So to start off, what are some of the things that the Simi Valley Public Library is doing really well for its teens? What message is it sending? Well, automatically upon entering the library, what you see in the picture here, this is the entryway circulation desk on the right. If you continue on, there are two dedicated teen-specific areas. On the left, the red rectangle, that is the teen lounge, and above that, that red circle is indicating the teen space area. So automatically, there are two teen space areas visible in the library. The teen also has a teen advisory group, which they encourage to help co-create the space. It also meets in certain parts of the teen allocated areas. There are also specific teen programs. Again, they use the space sometimes, and then there is a dedicated teen service librarian. So those four things automatically highlight some great strides that the Simi Valley Public Library is making to address the needs of this specific user group. So in focusing on those two teen areas that were highlighted in red on the previous screen, the teen lounge and the teen space, this I feel is the best of what the Simi Valley Public Library has to offer in terms of space for teens. The message that they're sending is that the teens are valued here. The teen lounge, it's a little conference room. It has rolling tables and chairs, private study desks, some manga collections. The teen space has computers, table seating, and the young adult collection. Here you have a closer look at what the teen lounge looks like. Um, the highlight of this area, what I think really addresses teens' needs well, is the variety of seating. There's private seating, flexible seating in terms of like students can just grab seats from this pile of chairs over here next to the trash can. There's even a love seat. The chairs and the tables in the center of the room all have wheels, so it's very flexible. The room was kind of small, I would say, so I'm not sure how many different arrangements the table and chairs in the center could be made into, but it does encourage some amount of flexibility. The collections in the room, it was all manga, all comics. Some of the titles were from when I was in middle school, but there were some newer titles as well, all in good condition. And that was the entirety of this room. On the other hand, there were some downsides. So the other space that was dedicated for teens is the teen space. You can see the blue sign on this image. It says teen space, but looking at it, it's really hard to tell what exactly the teen space is. Is it the computers? Is it the tables? If you go in further into the library and turn the corner, you will see a bunch of young adult fiction bookshelves. They're turned parallel to the wall, so they're all kind of like almost tucked away in a corner. So the teen space sign is ambiguous. Like we're not really sure where the teen space begins or ends. There's no clear demarcation of this area being just for teens. And like I said, it shares a lot of this space with adults and adult fiction. And continuing that kind of colonization theme that came up in some of the readings cited in my paper, there were no teens in this entire area. There were no teens in the teen lounge. There were no teens in the teen space. In fact, that whole area was filled with adults. The lounge room, as you can see in this photo, it was blacked out with butcher paper the first time I came to observe it because it was being used as a children's escape room. Now, I'm pretty sure that teens could have participated, but the suggestion here is that this area is not just for teens. It is not a total teen space, and so the teen space is kind of a disappointment. So again, connecting to some of the things that I brought up at the beginning of the presentation, although not necessarily about the space itself, the teen advisor group, the programs, and the teen services librarian are connected to the idea of space and are a positive. that I just wanted to touch on very quickly. The teen advisory group seeks input from teens on how to use the space, including decoration, displays, things like this. It's also worth noting that the programs in the group use different parts of the space. Um, and the fact that they have a dedicated teen service librarian means that the library does care, and uses the programs and the services in the space to try to meet those users' needs. They have allocated funding for it. Even here, though, there is some room for improvement. There are teen tables listed in some of in where the teen advisory group meets. I'm not sure where the teen tables are. If it's part of the teen space, then those tables are often occupied by adults. If it's the tables in the teen lounge, it's kind of a small room. Doesn't really allow for a lot of access from a lot of people at the same time. The community room is relied on a lot. So that suggests that a space that could be activated by teens, by the teen service librarian, by facilitators for some of these activities or discussions, aren't taking place in the space that is allocated for teens, right? So the message is like, come to the community room where everybody else goes. The space really isn't just for you. So that is something to highlight, and maybe I'll mention it in my recommendations how the space could be used better. Okay, so those were my observations, and my evaluations. Now we're going to move into my recommendations. So, what could the Simi Valley Public Library do better to improve on all of those things that I noticed that seem to be holding them back? So, number one, they need to relocate the adult fiction or partition the area to make it a teens only area. Second, they need to reassess seating options and use what teens prefer to make it a more teen centered space. They need to maintain the boundaries that they create. Currently, those boundaries are very permeable and ambiguous. The teens only section is absent. What can they do about that? They're going to have to figure out a system or a procedure for holding that space for the teens. They need to allow for participatory opportunities. So currently there are a lot of programs that seems to create the space. So the space is very program centered. Instead, the teens need to be involved in coming up with those ideas, co-creating the space, and then basically opening up the opportunities and experiences that happen within the space to not just be limited by time or by facilitator or by resources. There are ways of opening up that space more. And that goes to my next point, extending the space. So, what are some ways that could kind of break up that old fashioned kind of way of viewing library space? And then finally, what is the experience and the purpose that the Simi Valley Public Library teen space is meant to create? So, step one, the teen space needs to be for teens only within reason, right? Obviously, if like the space doesn't allow it, or if the librarians determine that the users are better served by a flexible schedule, far be it from me to decide that. However, the fact that the signage was ambiguous, I don't know where teen space begins or ends. The YA collection is pushed all the way in the corner and the entire area was filled with adults, means that the teen space is clearly not for teens only. So I would recommend that the adult bookshelves should leave, if possible. Or if not, they need to be pushed over into their own side and maybe the area partitioned in some way. When I walked into the library, there were big display boards filled with community artwork. Some of those same display boards, they were very tall. Those could be used as a boundary wall between the teen section and the adult section. This was also the only place in the library where I saw computers. So understanding that this area is very competitive for adults, right? It's got great seating, it's got computers if you're looking for a computer. So some of these things may need to be reallocated to other parts of the library so that the YA shelves can move out and around. I think, making it kind of an open perimeter. Currently, that area is not very inviting or browsable, but the shelves themselves could be used to create like a boundary, create a space. So that if I were an adult and I went into this area, I definitely wouldn't be thinking, oh, this is the teen area that I'm imposing on. It doesn't seem like a teen area at all. So steps need to be made to demarcate the teen section from the rest of the library. in order to create that space. So again, some of these things may need to move to other parts of the library, but in general, the seating for teens is not really what teens prefer. And some of the readings that I, again cited in my paper, sitting on the floor is even preferred for some teens. Um, Giving them opportunities to lounge and sit in interesting and what I might consider uncomfortable ways would be more appealing for them. So, if possible, for example, the wheelie tables and chairs that are in the teen lounge, I think it would be nice if those could come out and occupy this space more freely. There's not really space for them in the lounge to be like reconnected into different positions. Out here, if the space were opened up and again dedicated to teens only, there could be ample floor space for seating. Um, Having those wheelie tables and chairs out and about would make them more likely to be moved and reassembled uh, in a variety of ways that could help group work, um, or allow for private seating, or again, lounge or fugitive posture seating as needed. So the boundaries that some of these suggestions are hoping to create are not going to exist or be permanent without being enforced, right? And they're not going to be enforceable without staff support. So hopefully, moving things around will help suggest the space, but there's still going to need to be reminders, right? Table tents could help with that. Posted policies, verbal reminders about the space being only for teens will help. Again, the teen space totally occupied by adults when I went to see it, and then when I returned to my second observation when the teen lounge was open, there was an adult in here too. Now, it's for the teen space, I don't think that I, as an adult myself, I would not have known that that was a teen area. But this one is clearly says on the teen lounge. So there needs to be a more solid suggestion of what the library's policies are for the teen lounge, right? It's going to be up for the librarians to advocate for that space with patrons as well. So, from a service standpoint, teens are going to want to come into the library and come back to the library if they feel like it is their space, right? Part of that is actually carving out the space for them, advocating for the space to be theirs, but also helping them co create and collaborate in the space itself. So, there were these video game themed displays happening in the library. I think it was the monthly theme of video games in the children's department, and in the foyer of the library there were these beautiful handmade video game uh, art pieces taking up a lot of space. In the teen area there was absolutely nothing, except for the teen posters or the character posters to decorate the teen lounge. So the teen advisory group would be a great place to start, getting some ideas for teen made art, teen made displays, or even some teen driven self learning opportunities. Um, Things that the teens are interested in learning about. Maybe that teens could actually host and deliver those learning opportunities themselves. One example could be, a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that is run by the teens, not by a librarian. Um, yeah, hobby and interest kits that they come up with or they actually help co-create so that other teens can come in and check out the kids or use them while they're in the library space. And this could be a way to start to extend the space, and to give teens ownership over what the teen space actually is and could be. And so, building on that, I think extending the space, like what does space mean? Obviously, it means the physical space, um, but space as a tool to help teens learn, connect, um, become inspired, or innovate, right? Linking back to the Nordic four space uh, model, right? What space is and um, can be so much more than what the square footage is in front of you, right? There was a reading that talked about how Discord helped teens connect during COVID and continued beyond that, right? So even some of the things that the library is currently doing, like virtual escape rooms and coding uh, activities, right? Those are things that could be just as present online with the library. Adding on to that, extending the space and activating it, right? Resources and technology should not just be limited to when the programs are happening, when a librarian is facilitating. There could be art supplies, materials, resources, kits, all of that could be out and available to teens on book carts, for example. Um, Including the giant whiteboard idea, right? That links back to participatory opportunities to, again, participate in the space, create the space just by being in it and experiencing it, right? The idea of a giant whiteboard creating and extending the space beyond time, right? Like it's not, it's something that teens could leave an impression on, not just at one moment in time, right? It continues being the space over a long period of time. And so finally, what is the point of all this, right? What is the bigger message, the big meaning in of space? Like, what is the purpose of giving teens space? Why is it important to them? So instead of trying to create an adult's idea of what a teen's space should be, the library should center on any vision of a redesign on what the teens themselves want and need. For example, like they have the manga room in the lounge. I would be really interested to know if that was like the teens' idea to put all the manga there, or if it was something that the teen services librarian was like, oh, I know what would be cool. Let's put all the manga in the room, right? I feel like there was a little bit of a tension there, right? Like if you go into the teen lounge and you are not a fan of comic books, then you might not really feel like that space is yours, right? So it's really important to get the teens' input, right? Um, what is unique to this community of teens, right? What is the story that the librarian is authentically telling them? Again, from a service standpoint, they are only going to come back to the library if they feel like it's their space, and they have to authentically participate in it and authentically um, give input in order to feel comfortable being in it and returning, right? Which is what we would like. From a more idealistic standpoint, I would say it's even more important to get teens involved in co-creating the space because of our greater mandate as librarians, as like citizens and humans that exist on this planet. Um, it's empowering, right? A teen who can take ownership and accountability of space today is an empowered citizen of the future. The library space tells a story about how the library views its users. Not only should teens feel valued and that they are given the space at all, but they are being told that they are responsible stakeholders who have the power to change it. So that is why library space is an opportunity to give teens a chance to create and leave a mark on their world in a way that will become phenomenally more important as they move from teens into adulthood. Um, so again, that's the message, that's the point, that's the purpose. We want to empower teens, and space is our greatest tool to help do that. Thank you.